Okay, I'm back here, Garrett Sussman of iPullRank. I am with the founder, the Chief Relevance Officer, and the man behind iPullRank, Mike King. How you doing, Mike?
Chief Relevance Engineer.
Chief Relevance Engineer Officer. I mean, you're still at the top of the food chain.
Trio. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I want to talk about cloaking and why it is a viable thing to do specifically for AI search. Before we get into that, I don't think you should do any sort of cloaking for Google. That's against their guidelines. It'll get you, kicked out of the index and so on. But cloaking for AI search is not necessarily showing different content to those user agents. It's showing markdown versions of your page that are easier for them to process. The other thing that you can be using cloaking for in these environments is not making your content available to these LLMs, because that makes it easier for someone to grab your content and rewrite it very quickly using an AI tool. So you may want to have, if there's like unique information that you don't want other people copying and throwing on their website, that can be stuff that you render with JavaScript and then block those JavaScript files with a robots.txt or something like that. So that's just a way to have a competitive advantage in your content, because the big thing is that they are looking for who's having consensus and information, but there's also instances where they're saying something net new, or where you're saying something net new, where they might want to pull that data point and you're the only one with it. So if anyone can grab that with a chat GPT or whatever at scale, they will have your content almost immediately. So I think there's two different reasons for cloaking that are viable. And again, it can be showing your content in a different format for a large language model so they can consume it better, or blocking it using JavaScript so they can't consume the things that are unique to you and your business.
It makes a ton of sense. So would you recommend that teams start already thinking about, like, if you will, like a cloaking strategy? Like that needs to be a conversation between SEO, between relevance engineers, and between content?
Yeah, presumably. I mean, I think that some of the platforms, some of the like AI search management platforms are starting to do this, where they're effectively, sniffing for the user agent and then serving Markdown to that user agent, not ever showing this to Google or something like that. But effectively, that's the same idea behind LLMs.txt, although that's not an actual protocol, but that is what people are effectively doing. They are serving their content as Markdown in this text file. And, I'm starting to see more conversation about it, like, hey, I think Google is indexing it. Yeah, it's a text file. They index all sorts of text files. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's being used, but also then you're losing out on a lot of opportunity. You can't throw analytics on a text file. You can't canonicalize it. Well, I guess you can with a HTTP header. You could canonicalize it that way. But the point is, you're effectively cannibalizing your own site because you have this text file that is now competing with the rest of your site, and there's no other entry points to the rest of your site from this text file. So I wouldn't do LLMs text for any reason, really. Like, I think the cloaking idea is actually a better idea. And technically, it's not cloaking. Like, it's the same as what Google was calling double serving, where you gave like the the less bells and whistles version of the content to Googlebot, but users still saw the same content. So it's the same idea, but when you see that on the face of it, you look at that as though it's just cloaking. But it is a better way to serve content to an LLM because they don't render the content. And HTML is just a lot of stuff in the way that needs to be cleaned out and so on for them to better understand the content.
It's just interesting because thinking back to the way that we're positioned at PullRank, and we talk a lot about omnimedia in the context of relevance engineering and the query fan out and like the different formats and content types. Obviously, like having a PDF, having a video, having audio, having like a general HTML text. Do you see text files? I mean, we can't know what, predict the future of how it'll play out, but do you think in the context of an omni-media plan, it's worth having it? Or is it just the same as everything else? I wouldn't intentionally create content in Markdown for that reason. You know what I mean?
I don't completely follow your question.
I mean, is there any value in doing text files as part of a content strategy?
No,
Okay.
I don't think it makes sense for you to present your website as just a text file because again, those can get indexed and then someone lands on a text file rather than this full web experience. But if you are presenting content in Markdown specifically to an AI search, you know, machine, um, that is fine because the user doesn't like click that and go to the text file. It's more about them just having the information that they need because they can ultimately be routed to an actual URL, which is a web page, even if it's understood as text.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and I think it's an important conversation because I think as SEOs for so long, like people are scared to death of doing anything cloaking related for the fear of any sort of penalty. But to your point, like having the appropriate, guardrails in place and not allowing it to be indexed is a different strategy that makes sense for a different version of search.
Yeah, just don't do anything dumb. You'll be fine.
You mean I shouldn't start breaking out my disavow file and playing around with that today? Anyway, that's it. That is Mike King and Garrett Sussman. A little bit of a short one, but just like top of mind stuff. AI search. It's completely evolving. People are doing their experiments. Are there any other like pieces of news or experiments that have been like top of mind that like stuck out to you over the past couple of weeks?
No, for me, I'm just really thinking a lot about the e-commerce thing, and I'm not trying to like come out here half-cocked like, I've seen other people do. I want to do some research, some analysis, figure out how it works, and then come up with a game plan of what we should be doing. Because of course, it's incredibly important, especially with Black Friday right around the corner.
Aside from the technical, do you speculate? Do you think people will be buying from search, like just from a search behavior perspective? Do you think people will actually start using it, AI search to make purchases this Black Friday?
Absolutely. I think that, having native purchasing directly in those channels just makes sense. Because, I think a lot of users would prefer if they could do everything in that environment. Like if you got all the information and you can do multiple terms to further like understand what it is that you need, and then you're gonna feel comfortable and confident, like let's just buy the thing right here. And I also think the long-term play with this is that these channels are going to just like do things for you rather than you having to like have the whole conversation. It's going to be so connected to your ecosystem and your information that it's going to say like, oh yeah, you're almost out of detergent, I'm just going to buy this for you. Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely the future of all this.
Do you think this presents any sort of threat to Amazon? Do you think Amazon sees this and they get nervous, or they're just like, whatever, you're buying from us anyway because we've got logistics covered?
Yeah, I think they don't care. Like, Amazon has a website because they need to, right? Like if they didn't need to have a website and you could just talk to a back end and they don't have to manage a website, I think they would love that. I think the web is kind of like an intermediate step towards you just interacting with a thing that gets you what you want. Like, we started from this like whole brochure thing, and then that was just a mechanism for you to make phone calls to businesses or whatever. And then it came e-commerce where you could buy directly and so on. But I think if everyone just had like a device or some sort of like ambient thing that you talked to, and you're like, hey, I need groceries, you know what I like, just make it happen, people would prefer that. So I think long term, we are going to get more in that direction.
And it cracks me up because I literally got an Amazon printed catalog in the mail today with all the toys for my daughter. She's gonna love it. I mean, it's smart. They're doing all the channels. So
Man,
we'll be back.
when I
Yeah.
was little, like the catalogs for stores around the holidays was my whole thing. I would get like a brand new composition book and I would like circle a bunch of products that I wanted, and then I would make a whole list and be like, yeah, you can find that on this page and the Toys R Us joint, this page and whatever. And it was just like a whole process for me. I used to love that.
Dude, the whole Toys R Us catalog was my life. Okay, so you hear that here first. Keep your eyes peeled for your mailbox. You'll have an iPullRank services catalog coming in print to you. Should be there this week for Black Friday services. So there you go. AI search. That's all I got. Keep your eyes peeled. We'll come back with some more Black Friday kind of strategy and AI search in the next couple of weeks. Have a good one.
Cool.